Welcome to Kat's Candid Conversations. Kat McKeno is an award-winning journalist who has interviewed compelling people and organizations from around the world who make a difference.
Recently, authorities confiscated illegal vaping products valued at $80 million in a nationwide crackdown called Operation Red Mist. It mainly targets our youth and comes in a vast array of delicious flavors. It's big business. In Pennsylvania, vaping is also a critical issue. Nearly 1 in 5 high schoolers has tried vaping, causing many school districts to install vape detectors to try and stop it, according to public health data. Our guest today is Matt Weaver. He is a program counselor and program therapist at Blueprints for Recovery. He earned his Bachelor of Arts in Behavioral Health Addiction Studies from Alvernia University, graduating summa cum laude in 2015. He has spent 11 years in addiction prevention and youth leadership development. A very warm welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. My first question is for the listeners who don't quite get what vaping is and how it is different than cigarettes.
Sure.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so vaping products are essentially found in like capsules or in vials that are put into devices that are then combustible and inhaled through these cartridges. And so it's different than cigarettes because you don't necessarily, you don't light it with fire. It has a heating coil within the device, which allows for the oils and solutions that are inside the cartridges to heat and then to create that vapor that you see that is being inhaled and exhaled. And I'm sure we'll get into more of like what that vapor, quote unquote vapor is, consists of. But it is not just harmless water vapor that a lot of people have had a belief about or a misconception about over the years. I think we're getting closer to having a better understanding of what those clouds are, and that it's not just water, but there are definitely some people who still kind of assume or just don't ask or don't care. So
it's the liquids that create the vapor, and it's heated up.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
There's batteries, right?
Correct.
That heat it up.
Yeah. There's batteries within the cartridges that heat that coil. Yep.
And why are especially middle school and high schooler students taking it?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to conceal. And they've been made popular over the years. They've been, the devices have gotten significantly smaller and sleeker. So they look and feel, cool. So it just, not only the device makes the youth feel connected with their peers, but also the flavors. So big tobacco companies are targeting young kids with these popular flavors like fruity flavors and whether it be mango or strawberry or watermelon, and then like mint chocolate chip and mango chocolate sorbet. Chip.
Yeah. Like ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
Right, exactly.
And they can taste it when they vape it, they get the taste of it.
Yeah, and it's utilizing artificial flavors, which the FDA approves for consumption, which is safe to eat, but not necessarily safe to inhale into your lungs, right? And so the artificial flavorings that are included in the aerosols of the oils are causing damage that young people don't necessarily see immediate effects of, but definitely there's ramifications over time.
What exactly is in the vaping material that they're vaping? What exactly is in it?
Yeah, so there's like vegetable glycerin and other oils to kind of create a solution that allows to hold the artificial flavors and nicotine and things like that. But then also there's heavy metals and formaldehyde and
formaldehyde.
Yes. And so it is not just innocent, or I mean, you can't even necessarily consider water vapor to be innocent when you consider it being inhaled, right? Like you wouldn't necessarily want to inhale water into your lungs. But that aside, the carcinogens that are found within the heavy metals and the artificial flavors, it takes a toll on the lungs over time.
What kind of metals are they putting in it?
Nickel is a primary one, and I don't recall. There's like two other ones that are fairly popular, but nickel is the one that jumps out to me that is commonly found.
What are some of the health effects? I remember reading about a young girl who actually lost the ability to use her lungs.
Yeah,
in an extreme case.
Sure, that's definitely an extreme case, but even so, for I would imagine, not knowing the backstory of that girl, a lot of like social media trends and youth and young people, young adults trying to build a following, and there are social media platforms that young people are building followings with just vaping on camera and showing how big of a cloud they can get, or what kind of cool designs they can make with their cloud and things like that. And so a lot of negative severe cases like that would probably be a result of trying to get as much of an inhale as possible over a considerable amount of time, and it just being repeated over and over again. So you asked about the health effects. And so, yeah, damage to the lungs, and especially for young people who are athletes, they're going to see that significant decrease in their cardiovascular stamina, and just inability to concentrate in school, because what we know about the disease of addiction is that it affects that limbic system. And when that part of the brain is louder than your frontal lobe, the reasoning, the logic, the good judgment, things like that, and the part of the brain that you want to use while learning new content and retaining content and things like that, when that limbic system is louder than the frontal lobe, then it prevents somebody from really being able to concentrate on the things that are important in class. And so they become preoccupied. When can I get my next fix? And I know you and I had discussed previously about schools installing vape devices within bathrooms, and that's because a lot of kids were excusing themselves to the restrooms and vaping because they couldn't wait until the end of school. They couldn't wait until they got home or until they got off school premises and things like that. Right.
I also read when they sized the vaping products that were illegally brought here, that they discovered that some of the manufacturers, and they don't know the factories they're coming from, a lot are in China, that some of them contained THC, they contained even a small bit of heroin.
Sure.
So we don't know what they're putting in them in those factories, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And in 2025, just last year, the Attorney General rolled out a Act 57, which essentially assigns a directory of manufacturers that vape shops are permitted to use now. And so unless the manufacturer is found on this directory, it is illegal for vape shops to sell any products that are outside of this directory. So essentially what that kind of cracks down on is some of those illegal contents, or kind of regulating a little bit better on what is found within the products that people are buying within those vape shops. And as far as THC goes, there are specific THC cartridges that individuals can buy. And so it's not necessarily that THC is found in nicotine advertised cartridges, but you can purchase separately a THC cartridge and put it in, and an adult wouldn't necessarily know without being like testing the liquid that's inside that it is THC. There's no clear way to be like, oh, that's a THC vape and that's a nicotine vape. And for kids who are sharing their vapes in school with their friends or outside of school with their friends, and they're just passing something around, if a kid who hasn't vaped before or is newer to vaping behaviors, they could be passed a vape that is a THC vape, and they wouldn't even know until they started to experience the effects.
It's kind of scary.
Absolutely.
For a young teenager, and then you might start hallucinating and not know what's going on.
Right. And a lot of vaping THC products are going to consist of highly concentrated THC. So especially for individuals who don't have that tolerance level to withstand that and to kind of experience that high, they're going to experience hallucinogenic type effects, or in severe cases psychosis, and things like that. So it's definitely something for parents to communicate with their kids, to make educated decisions and better decisions around if they are going to make the choice to vape, not to share it with anybody, and not to accept something that they don't know.
What is the legal age to vape?
It's 21.
So if they're in high school, they're not allowed to do that.
It's technically illegal.
Going back to this 57, how are they going to verify what's in it and where the manufacturer is? How can they prove what's in it?
Yeah.
How is that law going to do that, to verify it?
Sure. I would imagine there are going to be people who are assigned to regularly testing and regulating in some way what comes out of that manufacturing business or company. I did glance at this directory, and it looks like there is only one approved manufacturer at this time. But they manufacture a long list of products, ranging from different flavors to different nicotine levels and things like that. But it looks like, from what I saw, at least at first glance, it looks like there's only one approved manufacturer. So there's going to be someone or a plethora of people who are responsible for regulating in that in some way.
I heard there's some loopholes in it, though. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the loophole would be, other than to not report what they're selling, right? The only way to kind of circumvent this act would be to illegally sell.
So people would have to go to the stores to check on them, and there's so many.
Right. Yeah, so similar to compliance checks for alcohol, whether they're selling to underage people or not, they would have to have compliance checks with these vaping stores as well.
Some stores are worried, the vaping stores, that this might put them out of business. I don't understand why. Right.
I would imagine because they're selling a lot of unregulated and under approved products. So it's significantly cheaper to purchase and then resell at a higher cost products that are not being regulated than it is to purchase and sell regulated products.
And if there's only one manufacturer now, it's very limiting for them.
Sure.
And then they control the price, the one that's selling it.
Exactly. Right.
How and why the addiction that high schoolers and middle schoolers, why is it so addicting?
Yeah. I think that's a question with a lot of answers, right? It's first, nicotine is just a highly addictive drug in itself. And when you have vape products with such highly concentrated nicotine within just a small cartridge, and there's about 20, 20 cigarettes worth of nicotine in one cartridge. Whereas,
what is one cartridge? How
Yeah.
many vapes do they get from that?
one. So that one cartridge
20
is 20 cigarettes in one small
And if they're
cartridge.
getting in one, how many puffs do they need to get all of it?
It depends on how big of the inhales that they're taking. But typically, it could last a couple hours. It could last a day, and it could last a couple of days, depending on how often they're using it. But the thing is, with vaping, unlike with cigarettes, there's no, I was going to say like off switch, or like there's no, I start this cigarette and then it's done when it burns out, right? With vaping, you just can continue to puff on it until it runs out. And so young people especially are utilizing or using their vapes at a higher dose and duration than somebody who would normally smoke cigarettes. Maybe someone who smokes cigarettes smokes one cigarette every hour or something like that. Whereas with vaping, you can just continue to puff on that until it's gone.
So 20 cigarettes in one day.
Yeah. Or more if they're smoking, if they're finishing that cartridge and
They put
starting a
the
new
cartridge
one.
in.
Right. Yeah. So that adds to the severe risk of addiction, especially for young people, but also the underdeveloped brain. Underdeveloped brains lack that connection between the survival part of our brain, where that limbic system I talked about, where addiction lives, and our logical part of our brain, that frontal lobe, right? And so a lot of decisions as young people are based on emotional impulse. And so when I'm feeling left out, or when I'm feeling like I want to fit into a particular group, or if I'm feeling like I need to escape from something that feels uncomfortable because I got into a fight with my parents, or I got into a fight with my best friend, and now I don't know how to, if I don't have the necessary coping skills, I might seek an escape, and that could include vaping. And so kind of filling that void of escape, or filling the void of boredom with vaping can significantly increase the risk of addiction.
That makes sense, because they don't have the development to say, this is going to hurt me. This is going to hurt my health. I better stop.
Right.
Because they think they can go on forever.
Right.
That doesn't enter their mind.
Yes.
So, this feels good. I'm just going to keep doing it without realizing the harmful effect. Yeah. Can you share an example of someone you worked with who was addicted to vaping, and why he became addicted, and was it a success when you helped him? What was the outcome of it?
Yeah, I can think of several instances that I've worked with young people who kind of presented with that dependence on their vaping product, and through conversation, through recognition of the importance of pairing skill building with education on the harmful effects.
An example, of someone, you don't have to mention his name, but someone that you had a one-on-one, and share his story with us.
Yeah. So I was working with this one young man, and he
was he in high school?
He was 20 years old. So he had just graduated high school not too long ago. And I was working with him through a mentoring program, and he
here in Pennsylvania.
Yep. And he knew that his vaping behaviors had gotten to the point where he was just unable to stop on his own, and didn't really know where to turn or what supports existed for people. And so I was able to kind of come alongside him and help to educate him on what the potential health effects and harms are if he continued to vape, what he was vaping and how often he was vaping.
How often was he vaping?
He was vaping at least a cartridge or two a day.
So 20 to 40 cigarettes.
Yeah.
He was vaping. How long had he been doing it for?
Since he was, to that extent, for the last year. But he had started vaping at the age of 16.
How did he get involved in it?
Yeah,
In the vaping?
through peers, just kind of being around it and being not only his peers but his family as well, were either cigarette users or vapors, and it just became like almost normal. It didn't seem abnormal for him to start to engage in that behavior. And that's what we see a lot with young people. They start using for a variety of different reasons, but most commonly their environment. It's around them in their environment, or again, they're trying to escape from negative circumstances that they are dealing with in their life, whether it be family or friends, or they are just looking to fit in with a crowd.
Do they get high when they vape?
You can definitely, especially early on until that tolerance builds, kind of get lightheaded and kind of dizzy a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely something that young people will kind of seek after, kind of get that funny feeling, right? Lightheaded in the head, and it just creates like this sense of togetherness.
What made this young man decide that this is really getting ahead of me? I need to stop this right now.
Yeah.
Was there something, an epiphany he had, or what caused him to come to you and want to stop?
Yeah. So he was finding it really difficult to even go up a flight of stairs without being out of breath.
At 20 years old?
At 20 years old. And he was wanting to get back involved in playing like intramural soccer and stuff like that for different clubs and things like that. And he knew that if he wanted to do that type of exercise, that vaping was not going to be conducive for that. And so I was able to kind of educate him a little bit on the harms, and then help him identify necessary skills or and resources that are available to him to help kind of start the weaning off process. It's difficult to just quit cold turkey.
Does the body go through some sort of
withdrawal? Yeah. And most common with nicotine withdrawal, it's going to be like heightened irritability and increased appetite, which is like why a lot of people who are smoking will like be afraid to quit because they don't want to gain weight, because they know that their appetite's going to increase, because nicotine's kind of like a natural, it's a stimulant, so it kind of decreases the appetite sensation. So but yeah, he was able to kind of start that process, and he and I had kind of lost touch, but when we last spoke, he was on the verge of being completely off, and he reported feeling significantly better with his cardio and things like that. So that was definitely a positive.
So they don't just stop, they just gradually go off it. Is that what you recommend?
Yeah. It depends on for each individual. If somebody is like super motivated and they want to quit cold turkey and quit like right now, that's fine. But my recommendation is kind of a weaning off process, because it kind of helps to increase the motivation, and identify triggers that might come down the road, identify things that are going to be helpful and resourceful for them to maintain that quit, rather than saying, I'm going to be done now, but then they experience a hardship and they're like, oh, I need to go vape now because I am going through a breakup, or I just lost a job, or my parents just yelled at me or whatever it might be, as like that crutch or that unhealthy coping mechanism.
So it becomes social media, the competition. Look how great this is. Look what I can do, fitting in because their friends are vaping. How did you get involved and interested in helping addicts?
Yeah. Early on in my time at Alvernia, I learned about the field of addiction prevention. I had gone into that program of study with the intent of doing something in the public health kind of realm, and wanted to work with young people and young adults to kind of be that positive adult figure for them that I needed when I was young.
Were you ever addicted to anything? Did you ever experience that yourself?
Yeah, so I never experienced addiction, but I definitely used substances to concerning levels, right?
What kind of substances?
At 16, I started drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana and smoking cigarettes as a way to fit in with a new group of friends. And then 6 months later, my parents divorced, leading to kind of a downward spiral of just risky behavior after risky behavior, using these substances more frequently, whether it be before school or sometimes during school if I was able to. It allowed for me to kind of cope with these emotions that I didn't know how else to process. And 2 DUIs later, I was 17 when I received my first DUI, 22 when I got my second. And when I got my second DUI, I had already started my continuing education career at Harrisburg Area Community College, studying business management. And as I was going through the repercussions of that DUI, I quickly realized that the choices that I had made up to that point were not conducive for a healthy and successful life ahead of me.
What made you realize that? That was great.
Yeah.
What happened that made you realize that?
Yeah. Just a mentor that taught the alcohol highway safety class. Her name is Marilyn Stein. I don't know whether it was I was just ready to receive the information with clarity, or if it was the way that she presented it. Something just clicked. And once I decided that I needed to make a change, I changed my major to psychology because I wanted to pursue a career path in this way. I reached out to her several months after having taken her class as a part of the repercussion of the DUI. And she said that I was the first person that had ever reached out to her outside of the requirements of the class to just sit down and talk. And so she became somewhat of like a mentor for me to kind of navigate what this career path could look like. And again, when I was at Alvernia, then I learned about the addiction prevention field. And I learned that it was going to give me the opportunity to work with young people and be that positive impact and leader for them, that could be provide empowerment for them to make healthy and appropriate decisions, free from addiction and free from needing to use in order to fit in or to feel like they belong.
And you were someone who could really, influence them because you were there.
Yeah.
You experienced it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've always prided myself in like that, the ability to make connection with people.
Empathy.
And it has really carried over into my career now in addiction treatment, working with older adults. And what's really interesting now, going from 11 years in addiction prevention to now going on a year in addiction treatment, there's a lot of carryover from one end of the spectrum, a continuum of care, to the other.
What do you mean?
And like the tools and skills that we preach and present in prevention, whether it be emphasis on social emotional learning so that I can build my self-confidence and self-esteem, so I don't feel like I need to follow what other people are doing. I can make my own decisions for myself and know that the choices that I'm making will lead me into a path of success. Or regulating my emotions effectively, and understanding that because I lack that connection of reasoning and good judgment and things like that, with a developing brain, I can be more in tune with my emotions. If I can identify my emotions, I can then present them in a more effective way, rather than feeling like I need to go get high to kind of mask these uncomfortable feelings, or get high to enhance my good feelings of emotions and things like that.
Does it work with a lot of the students that you've worked with? Does that help them?
Having the understanding of these skills,
and
sure.
Educating them, because as you said, their brain isn't totally developed.
Yeah.
So can they get it?
They can get it. They can get it. Just because they lack that part of the development process, really emphasizing these skills and tools can help for them to bolster that part of their brain before that development even happens. And so it's just like riding a bike, right?
I see.
Yeah.
And it seems to me too that your DUI, getting two of them, kind of shocked you a little bit into knowing that you were in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, at 17, when I got that first DUI, it was like I still had this invincibility complex. And I had already had friends who had DUIs, so it was like, it seemed just like a slap on the wrist. It wasn't that big of a deal. So there was no behavior change after that first one. But at 22, having more time to kind of develop the brain, and also have lived experiences, that was like, you know what, like, this is not the path that I need, and I need to be able to rely on other people for safety and for to find what truly matters to me.
Your survival, really.
Yeah, right.
Going back to this school situation, how do they discipline the people they catch vaping? Yeah. It ranges from suspension or detention to suspension. More recently, I think that schools are catching on to the notion that punishment does not work. It's not effective. Because if I'm just giving a kid detention, or if I'm suspending them and now they have extended amount of free time and boredom, they're just going to be doing the behavior that you're suspending them for, right? To kind of fill that void of boredom or out of rebellion, like type mentality. Escaping their feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had always thought in the 2010s, when vaping came into the mainstream, that it was a healthy alternative to cigarettes. And it was a good thing. Wasn't that how it was marketed initially?
Sure. Yeah. The way that it was marketed was as a way for people who were addicted to cigarettes, as a way to kind of wean off of the dependence of nicotine, because they could theoretically purchase a cartridge of a high amount of nicotine to start, and then after a period of time reduce that amount of nicotine, or the concentration of nicotine within the cartridge, and then continue to gradually go down to a nicotine-free cartridge, which would then theoretically help them to curb the addiction to the nicotine, but then they would need to figure out how to supplement the behavior of actually the oral fixation, right? Because with vaping, you still have that oral something going to the mouth and inhaling and exhaling. And so that's how it was originally at least presented and marketed.
Boy, did that backfire.
It backfired significantly, because what we are seeing now is it's because vaping is so much more popular and trendy for young people. They're starting out vaping, and what we're seeing is that kids who are vaping are at a higher risk now of going on to smoking cigarettes, where originally it was supposed to be cigarettes to vaping, and now kids are going from vaping to cigarettes because just curiosity and exposure to kind of that culture of substance use.
And then the addiction of nicotine, and then what it does for them mentally, and the escape they can feel.
Yeah.
All those different factors that you've mentioned.
Right.
What would you say to parents that are listening to this, what they can do to stop or help their kids fight the addiction to vaping, or not even use it to begin with?
Sure.
What advice would you give them?
First, talk early, talk often, right? I think a lot of parents might be concerned or fearful of bringing up the subject and having that conversation out of fear that if I bring this up, then it's going to increase their curiosity and like want to do it. But I say that the more you have that conversation, the more they're going to really hear the facts about what your concerns are, right? And not when you have those conversations, don't use kind of scare tactic type messaging by using absolutes like if you start vaping, you're going to go on to smoke marijuana and then you're eventually going to use heroin and could die and that type of stuff, right? Because we know like that's not the trajectory for everybody. Just because somebody vapes doesn't mean that they go on to using quote unquote harder drugs. But if you want to communicate that message with more accuracy and more substance, kind of communicating that if you vape, you're at a higher risk for using other drugs, because the more exposure you have to a variety of substances, you're inevitably going to be exposed to other things, because you're going to be around people who are using X, Y, and Z, and then you're going to be in a situation where you're socializing and there's going to be other people that maybe you know, maybe you don't know, who have ABC, right? And so communicate, talk early, talk often. Don't use scare tactic messaging, and just be present, right? The more...
Is there certain behaviors in their teenagers that they can see that would indicate that something's going on?
Yes, but it's tough, I think, for a lot of people to kind of put a finger on, just because teenagers inherently are going through hormonal changes already. But you know your kids best, right? So if you see that they are acting out of sorts, or if they are more irritable than normal, if they are not eating as much as what they would normally eat, or those types of things, whether the concern ends up being vaping or not, there's just still things that you want to address with your child anyway, right? And so it goes back to kind of building that family connection. When kids feel connected in their family unit, there are significantly lower risk for using substances and developing addiction later in life. So it's just be present, be active, and react with conversation, and react if you have these concerns, but don't overreact. I think a lot of...
Don't start screaming at them,
right?
Grounding them.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because when that happens, then the inherent teenage rebellion is going to come out. Like, that's just a child's natural instinct to do. And so when we react, we want to react with grace. We want to react with compassion and understanding, because us parents, we were kids their age at one point as well. And if we think back to the things that maybe we've done or had engaged in, and things that maybe we never told our parents that we did and stuff like that, the more open and honest we can have our kids be with us, the more successful they're going to be at navigating those emotions, navigating those tough decisions and relational issues that come up that are often a catalyst for wanting to escape with substances in the first place.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How big is the crisis here?
What's interesting is that according to the Pennsylvania Youth Survey, which is conducted every 2 years among 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders across Pennsylvania, the trend is showing that regular past 30-day use, which indicates regular use of vapes, is actually declining over the last 2 to 4 years, which is a good trend to see. So I think that the latest, 2025 was the last time that they had conducted this survey, and the results just came out in springtime of this year. And I think that among high school seniors, about 11 to 12% of high school seniors report having using vapes in the past 30 days, which means on the positive side, 88% of high school seniors are not. So what's helpful in kind of messaging or creating messaging around and reshifting kind of the social norming of vaping, communicating like the significant amount of students who are not, the percentage of students who are not vaping and not engaging in these risky behaviors can really help to influence kids who would otherwise be curious and maybe try it because they think that they're the only ones that aren't doing it. When we are communicating that all high school students are vaping in our county or in our state or in our school, then it presents this message to the students, like the majority of the students who are not vaping, that everybody else is doing it and I'm not doing it. What's wrong with me? Why aren't I being invited to do this cool thing, right? And so it's going to inherently increase the risk of them then going on and trying it. But what it is concerning is that, like, we do want to address that 12% of students who are vaping, because they are vaping to the extent that a lot of that is leading to significant addiction issues, right? And behavior issues and low academic performance issues and decreased athletic performance.
Is there anything that's taking its place that is a new concern that we should be aware of?
No, I don't think so. I think alcohol is still the number one popular substance among youth. And then vaping and marijuana are right behind it. I think marijuana is actually on the increase, whereas we're seeing vaping on the decrease a little bit. But as THC cartridges become more popular and available, with just the messaging that's going on with big marijuana companies right now, especially trying to get it legalized in the state of Pennsylvania. If we do go that route eventually,
in California,
we're going to see, I think, a rise in.
So marijuana might be the next thing that we have to be concerned about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and not only just like the combustible marijuana, but like edibles and all the other products that they're finding to put THC in, like sodas and candies and bakery items, all that kind of stuff. So it's
still illegal here, though.
It's still illegal here.
They're trying to make it legal, though.
Correct.
So if that passes, you would be concerned.
Yeah, I would be concerned, and it would be necessary to really ramp up like prevention efforts and prevention messaging across the state. I think it's important to do so now, before we even get to the point of having to like put out fires. But it's something for us to definitely be mindful and watchful of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask Matt?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, a lot of kids these days are on some kind of prescription drugs or another, and I was wondering if there are known detrimental effects if you or vaping at the same time as this, and if the messaging is caught up like you might have a label on a tobacco product, but don't use this while on this.
For kids who get like depressed or anxious,
right.
They put them on all these drugs.
Yeah.
Do you find that's happening more?
Yeah, I think that I don't necessarily know of side effects of like antidepressants or ADHD medications and things like that, and how they interact with nicotine.
Okay.
But a lot of those substances are going to be kind of stimulant based, whereas nicotine is also a stimulant, so it could create hyperactivity and actually make the issue that is trying to be addressed with the medication worse, and more significant.
Yeah, but just the medication by itself.
Yeah.
Just giving, you're feeling depressed or anxious, just take this.
Yeah.
That's on the up, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't love it. It's definitely disappointing that we're quick to prescribe medications before we allow for recognition of what the root cause of whatever is that's going on to be dealt with, whether it be through therapy or whatever other case, right? Like trauma is definitely something that a lot of people are dealing with, and
especially the pressure of social media.
Yeah, sure, exactly. And the behaviors that are exhibited from childhood trauma or from like impacts of social media mimic ADHD symptoms. And so you have doctors who are seeing these young people who are presenting with ADHD symptoms, but what they really need to do is to address this trauma or address
that fear was
the environment
created.
Yes, exactly. And so it's kind of just like with any other substance, whether it be vaping, marijuana, alcohol, it's just kind of putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And when that drug is no longer working or effective in the short term, then young people especially, will look to self-medicate with other things to either increase their mood or to just feel more content in some way, because they are just not getting the effects that they're being told that this prescription medication is supposed to support.
Yeah, I guess there's different cases. If it's a child who's sleeping all day and they're really depressed and they won't get out of bed for days,
right?
That's an extreme case,
right? That
might need medication to help that child.
Yeah.
But if they get depressed once in a while, that's kind of part of life, isn't it? Happy, sad, anxious, not anxious, fear.
Sure.
That's being human, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay, I'm feeling anxious. Let's give you a drug so you're not so anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of learning to deal with that anxiety.
Yeah.
What can you do to make you feel better? Or you're feeling depressed. What can you do to bring yourself out of it?
Yeah.
Maybe take up a sport, walk.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. And I know that isn't necessarily what we're talking about here today, but like, I have a huge problem with anxiety being on the medically approved list for medical marijuana, because we see that marijuana use and abuse actually increases the onset of anxiety and can make anxiety worse. So essentially what people are trying to do is treat anxiety with a substance that enhances anxiety, But when they are using it and they're high, they aren't necessarily having the mental effects of the anxiety. They're feeling
very grounding, is it?
No, it's not, because when they come down off of that high, then the anxiety is often significantly worse because they're not dealing with the root cause again of what is going on.
So if we make it available, then kids can get it easier.
Right.
Or if their parents are buying the gummies or whatever, they can just go in there and take it.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that would be a new kind of crisis for the schools.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to ask him?
No, thank you.
Yeah, it was very interesting to learn about vaping.
Yeah.
I mean, those of us who don't vape
Yeah.
aren't really aware of everything that's going on with it and
Sure.
how addicting it is.
Yeah.
And those horrible, chemicals, the metals,
Yeah.
THC. And then we read about, it's been in the news about, I think it's King's Vaping Store.
Okay.
They actually were putting drugs in some of them.
Yeah.
So, and then when they caught it, the authorities got illegal, vape products coming in here.
Yeah. Right.
They had heavy drugs in them, some of them,
Yeah.
that our kids could take.
Could have.
Because we
Bound
can't
up in our
verify
hands.
it. We can't verify it.
Right. Yeah.
And how that's going to work, we still don't know. We still don't know the loopholes.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And again, like one of the important pieces to kind of take away is that the vaping cloud, what's being inhaled from the device, is not water vapor. It's more closely like an aerosol, right? So like think of any of the cleaning products that you have in your house that you spray.
That's pretty scary.
And that is what is being in, like the
wow.
particles that you see coming out of those aerosol cans to clean off a table or whatever it might, or your air freshener. Those are the type of particles that are being inhaled and causing damage to the lungs.
Wow. And they're carcinogens, aren't they?
Yep.
And a lot of people are even not using that to clean anymore. They're looking for more natural chemicals because we don't want to breathe it in.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Interesting. What other message would you like to give about how much money they're making from this? As I introduced this, our talk, I mentioned there's a lot of money. Recently, I read $178 million was recently made by the officials.
Yeah. And it's definitely concerning to see the trend of addiction for profit organizations like Big Marijuana, Big Tobacco, who are kind of hand in hand in this operation now. And it's not about health effects or health benefits. It's all about how to make rich people richer, and at the detriment of our youth, because they're the ones who are being targeted again with these highly potent products, but also being messaged with the colorful packaging and the enticing flavors and things like that. And it's impacting our young people more than our adults, because that's who they want to get younger people involved in this addiction process, because then they'll have customers for longer in life, right? If I'm a addiction for profit organization and I'm targeting a 60-year-old, I might have a customer for 10, 20 years, right? If I can target a 13, 15-year-old, I could potentially have a customer for 50 to 60 years, right? So it's all a money-making bit, and it's not taking into account the harmful effects that it's having on our young people.
So what you're saying is their goal is to promote addiction, because then they'll make more money.
Correct.
Even though it's totally wrong.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't know how we can stop that.
Yeah.
If the rich are getting richer and the rich are controlling it, and the corporations and companies are controlling it.
Yeah. And if we had an answer to how we could stop that, you and I could be very rich as well.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
we learned a lot today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.